Travel and Things in association with Sun Destinations, iconic destinations with amazing experiences, present In Conversation With. I am your host, David Batsoffen, and I'm joined today all the way from Howick, down in KZN, by the owner of this incredible little Airbnb, Nikki Brighton. Nikki, good morning. Welcome to you.
Good morning, David.
Thank you so much. You looking very flowery and bright and all of those wonderful words.
It's probably because I am flowery and bright. There's not much I can do about that.
And we'll talk about that in a moment, because I think you are the first person ever to get me to eat weeds, but that's in a few minutes' time. I first want to talk about Braemar, because as I said in the article that I wrote about your property, I'd never stayed in an Airbnb before. So I had no idea what to expect. And I know that your Airbnb is just a tad different from the rest in that you actually live on the property.
Yeah, so there are lots of ways. Airbnb has kind of changed since I think it was invented. And when it was invented, it was about sharing your spare space and sharing a really local experience with people. But it has got very commercial now. And I think people manage properties that they don't live in. But mine is still in my home. I actually have a guest here now who's still snoring, fortunately. And I did warn him. So I heard him snoring, so I closed the door. And yeah, so I mean, you really do come and stay with me. I always say it's a little bit like staying with one of your favorite relations who doesn't put any pressure on you whatsoever. But yeah, so it's part of my home. And then you really get a little bit immersed in my experience of living in the Midlands of KZN.
Now, I noticed just the other day that Howick has been nominated or voted as one of the 53 top, is it international destinations for craft and for sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? Help me out here, Nikki.
Yeah, we've become a UNESCO creative city.
There you go. Who would have thought? How little old Howick, Natal, a UNESCO creative. Does everybody living in Howick get a little badge to put on their gates?
No, I don't think most people know about it yet. But the exciting project that's coming up is I don't know if when you were here, if you noticed any of the street art. There are a few lovely public art things. Yeah. But now we've got a lot of funding to actually, over the next while, and it'll be launched officially on the 23rd of September, we're going to have a heaps amount of street art, really gorgeous, telling local stories. So local icons are going to be celebrated on bus stops and old electrical substations. And yeah, so it's quite exciting that. And I think it's just the beginning, and who knows where it'll go, because we are a very creative place. I mean, the Midlands is super creative. Yeah.
Well, this I've come to realize, it's like Grahamstown in KZN.
I don't know. I've never been to Grahamstown.
Well, you don't have to now, because Howick has picked up the mantle.
Yeah. So no, we don't have to. Oh, well, I think Howick is the center of the universe anyway. So I'm certainly not going anywhere. Yeah.
Howick, when my mom moved down there 15 years ago, was really a place for the elderly. It was a retirement village. I think your mean average age there was about 90. But now it seems to have changed. Yes, all those retirement villages are still there, and they, go for as far as the eye can see. But it seems like younger people are moving in. And as we've now discovered, it's a UNESCO creative site. And this is now becoming the norm. It's being used for creatives, much like New Bethesda and Grahamstown for the festival, those sort of places, which means regeneration. And it also means perhaps, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that your mayor has stepped up to the plate big time and is punting Howick like there is no tomorrow, and good for him.
Yeah, I think so. Well, I mean, it's lovely to have a young gay mayor. That does change things. I mean, I think he's 32 now. Right. So you know, that definitely changes things. And everybody seems to really like him a lot. He is a very sweet man,
Right.
and he grew up here. So, you know, it's all that local stuff, and he really is about fixing things, you know. So, I mean, it's politics. I mean, you know, we can moan and groan,
Yeah.
but I think even before him, people were starting to come back here. So they came back from New York and Ireland and Germany or wherever they'd been, you know, kind of expanding their horizons. Then they had children, and then they realized, no, we've got to just go back where kids can ride their bicycles to school and skateboard in the streets, and we can walk out to the restaurants. And so that's really, we've got a lot of people in their 30s who've moved back. A lot, I think, work online. But there are some very interesting industries here. And yeah, so that means there's fabulous coffee shops, there's lots of theatre, there's lots of poetry, there's music, you know, there are all those things happening, which in a very small town, that doesn't, you know, sometimes you miss those things. So I think we're very, very fortunate in the Midlands. Yeah.
We've gone off on a really wide tangent, and I tend to do this with my guests and then allow them just to talk, because this is just a chat. This is not an interview per se.
Yeah. Okay.
So let's come back to Braemar. And
yeah, okay.
Remember Braemar?
Yeah, this is where I am.
This is where you are. And I know that corner. Is Beanie anywhere near you as we speak?
Yeah, she is. She's sleeping in her favorite chair right next to me here.
Fair enough. And for people who go,
her ears are pricked up. She may just hear your voice.
Yeah, it's a beautiful Afrikaner dog that we met when we were down in Howick not so long ago. So let's go back to your property. How many people can you accommodate? In what manner do you intermingle with the people? I mean, you don't wander around and knock on their door every 5 minutes and go, is everything okay? Can I get you a cup of tea?
No. Well, I mean, I've got 2 rooms. One has got twin beds and one has got a double room. I mean, a double bed.
Yeah.
And so I can have 4 people. You know, if I have 4 people, I would prefer to have 4 of the same group rather than 2 separate groups.
Right.
Because that just, you know, it just is nicer, but it doesn't always happen. And yeah, I mean, obviously I put the kettle on when people arrive. I can't really help that. But otherwise, I mean, I wouldn't, you know, if they need something, I will let them know. And I usually make hot water bottles in the evening because it does get very cold here sometimes.
It does.
But yeah, you kind of gauge, you know, what people need and want. I mean, I've also got my life and I'm busy and I've got things to do. Like today, I've got this and I've got other meetings coming later. So my guest will sort himself out. And I mean, I'm assuming he will leave quite soon anyway. Yeah, so I mean, they have their own kettles and bathrooms and things like that. But they're mostly, I find they're happy and they like using my kitchen. And very often they book an experience with me as well. So for instance, when you came to stay, there happened to be that lovely long table lunch to celebrate the winter with local ingredients. And so then you decided to join in that as well. But sometimes, I mean, I've got guests coming on Wednesday and Thursday who are actually coming to stay here, but particularly to do some experiences with me. So I'm making them lunch similar to what you ate.
Right.
So they've booked that as well as part of the experience. They've booked lunch, and then they've also booked a weed walk because obviously, you know, I'm a forager. So I don't know, you just gauge, everyone is different. But I must say, the thing I really love about this is I was ambivalent about sharing my space, David. I mean, I think that's, you know, I like to be alone, and it felt as if it might be awkward, but it's not awkward at all. I'm really surprised, and I've met the most remarkable people. Absolutely fabulous people, which I was going to
ask you about that.
Yeah.
Because I know when I sit down at a table in a game reserve, for instance, the first thing I do before I've even said hello, I go, so what do you do for a living? And at the last lodge, I found 2 NASA scientists. One of whom was a photographic scientist, and the other one was a water engineer. And both their daughter and son-in-law are small animal vets. Now, I mean, you can't get better than that. Although I have to say, I have to say that I was getting some keys cut on Saturday, and there was a woman standing next to me, and it was, I don't mean to be rude or sexist, just a very ordinary looking lady. And she said, "Oh, I just got to get these keys cut because I'm going traveling." And I went, "Where are you going and what do you do?" She says, "I'm a nanotechnologist and a water engineer, and I'm off to Brazil and China." Now, she didn't look like either of those things. She lectures at UNIS. And it was just a chance. And I said, "So you're the type of people that want to put small things into our bodies to repair us?" And she said, "Yeah, sort of in a way." And it was just a nice interaction. And I think your property engenders that sort of experience. You don't have to become overly interested, but just a hello, what do you do for a living can take it in all sorts of different and wonderful directions.
Exactly. And also, I hope that my blurb on Airbnb gives an impression that you are coming to stay with me and it is a bit wild and it is a bit different. And so while many of my guests probably live in very neat Santon accommodation with walls and all the rest, and they get here and it is overgrown and colorful and it is a bit different, but they are intrigued by that. So I quite like that educational opportunity as well. And then and then my food is all sort of out, all my beans and all my grains, and and then they're like, "Well, what are these purple things in this jar?" Do you know? So I quite like that kind of propaganda value, which is just an add-on, so I can kind of encourage people to recycle more and eat more locally, and that is lovely to be able to do that. And although I don't think they want to necessarily live the way I do, it's always intriguing that somebody else in the world is doing things differently to the way you thought everything should happen. And so then of course that's the reciprocal thing. Then I learn a little bit from them as well. So it's a very nice thing. It really is.
You undersell yourself when you say your place is wild. The interior is beautiful. It's colorful. There's all sorts of wonderful things to find. And outside, when we were there were stunning flowers, and you can walk around the garden without feeling that you have to tiptoe through the tulips because there aren't any. But I'm sad and upset. When I wrote the article about your place, you didn't like the parrots on the wall in our bathroom, and I thought they were so cute.
Well, I'm glad you like them. I can't bear them, but that's what I mean. I can't get rid of them. They're there. They're from whenever the house was built. So I just don't like them. I mean,
fair enough.
But anyway,
so those
it's a tiny thing. I don't think anyone who needs a bath or a shower is not going to obsess about having painted parrots on the wall.
Well, people who are going to visit post watching this, look for the parrots on the wall in the bathroom with the double bed. And please send me your thoughts on a postcard, and you can address them. No, I'm kidding. Nikki, your next guest.
Of all the things. You should say focus on the beautiful
I like sending
spider.
people to look for different stuff.
No,
like the corner where you're sitting is very special, and it gets the sun, and it's really nice. And there's a picture of a wild dog hidden behind you. Now, you did allude, and so did I, to eaten weeds a little earlier. And when we were down there with you, we got to share a meal that consisted of stuff that had it just been put in front of me and gone, "Try this," I would go, "Are you mad in your head? I'd rather eat from a fast food place than try this food." Yet I walked away from that table, A, feeling like I'd had a proper meal, and B, with a whole new respect for a range of plants and weeds, edible weeds, note, not like Snoop Dogg, who's smoking up all sorts of stuff at the Olympic Games at the moment, and how delicious they can be.
Yeah. So I am well known as a weed eater, and I really am passionate about this. I really believe that we need to eat more uncultivated food.
Right.
I think How have we decided as humans that broccoli is edible and rocket, which is a weed,
Oh,
actually,
okay.
but you can buy it at vast expense. So, we've just reduced and reduced and reduced and reduced the amount of food we eat. I mean, if we eat 50 different things, it's quite a lot. And I mean, that's crazy. We should be eating 50 different things every week.
Mm.
And so there's just so much abundance. So really, abundance is, oh, well, that's my thing, is my business is called Plant Abundance.
Right.
There is just such abundance in the world. I mean, in every way I can imagine. And I think, we've kind of, I don't know where we've lost the plot here, but there should not be hunger. There shouldn't be poverty. All those things are completely and utterly artificially man-made, really by capitalism mostly. And yeah, there is just so much food all around us. And so I'm really just trying to introduce people to the idea that you don't have to dig everything out your garden and just plant rows and rows of spinach and broccoli. Actually, just have a look and see what's growing in between the spinach and broccoli, and you'll be amazed. There's a lot of food. And the other thing is, who's to say, just because we say it's wild lettuce, in another culture, it's just lettuce.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing that fascinates me is in Vietnam, they grow blackjack. I think you know what blackjack is.
Yeah.
Even if you don't know weeds, generally you know blackjack, the little black things that stick onto you
Yep.
when you
On
go
which
walking.
Velcro
Yeah.
was based.
Pardon?
On which Velcro was based.
Yes, yeah. So blackjack is grown as a crop in Vietnam.
Okay.
In fields and sold at the market. So, there's just one example, but there's many examples of that. So, we decide, oh no, blackjack, but I mean, so we just have to learn. And I think with climate chaos, we're actually going to have to start eating a little bit differently. And so I just like this idea altogether. So I do lots and lots of workshops. I do lots of talks. The next talk I've got coming up is it's interesting because, okay, I'm sorry, I'm rambling a bit. I also call myself an invasivore sometimes, because I eat invasive plants. So most of the plants are not indigenous South African plants. They are invasive plants which are doing the healing work and just growing where the earth needs a bit of healing. But so the Indigenous Plant Fair, they're run by the Botanical Society, and has invited me to go in the middle of September to the plant fair to do talks to them.
That's wonderful.
So, I mean, I think that's lovely. So it's not only going to be all about aloes and, the plants that are indigenous. So, yeah, I'm going to do that, and I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah.
Can I take Nikki back to Nikki at the end of high school? You've now matriculated.
Yeah.
And you wake up on the morning after you've got your results, you've passed, and you go, I want to be a, and is this what Nikki wanted to be?
No, I have no idea. I don't even really remember that very clearly. I went to university. I just went to university, but I didn't have any idea what I wanted to do. I studied I did drama, English, psychology, those sorts of things, sociology.
All the useful stuff that would make you a multi-millionaire.
Yeah, it was fun, but it wasn't, I don't know. I mean, everything adds up to who you become in the end.
Right.
But I really wasn't, I've never actually done ambition. I still don't do ambition. I don't have ambition. And I've never really set goals or had ambition. I think life just evolves organically as it should.
And then
so I've done lots and lots of different things. And although I did love weeds when I was little, I even wrote a poem about loving weeds. I can tell you the poem. Would you like to hear the poem?
For sure.
When I was little, a lot littler than today, I professed a love of weeds that never went away. When I grow up, I did declare, my garden shall be full of dandelion yellow and chickweed stars and trifoliate oxalis as well. Oh, no, my aunt said with concern, no one will want to visit you. But funnily enough, my friends, often come to feast on wild green stew. So when I was little, I did love the weeds in the garden, as flowers.
Mm.
And my aunt really did tell me that if I left them in the garden, no one would visit me. So, I mean, I just tell you that because when I was 8, obviously I had some sort of affinity. There's always an affinity with plants. I feel very connected to nature. I feel part of things. I don't feel separate from butterflies and, you know, daisies. I think it's all the same thing. So obviously, you know, there must have been something and it's evolved, and here I am today. So really, if you want to know when I really started eating weeds, I suppose about 15 years ago, or maybe a bit longer. I'm a locavore. So locavore means I eat local food. Everything is local. I know every potato, every carrot. I know where everything comes from. So this was just like another step, because that's hyper local to be eating what's right outside your back door, right in season, right outside. So, and I think that's how humans would have eaten in the past. We would have eaten, it's our food and our medicine. We should be eating exactly what's in season right around us, not, you know, not things that come from Cape Town or Joburg or somewhere else.
Or triple wrapped in plastic. I mean, I opened a box of popcorn over the weekend from a large chain that I won't mention the name of. But it was so over-engineered. I had to, I needed almost to do a YouTube tutorial to figure out how to open the box. And then you go, but why? Everybody else is doing, either you can do it in hot oil, or you just, there is a bag from other supermarkets that you just stick. You don't need this over-engineering. The same supermarket tends to triple wrap their stuff when you get it. And the best story that I ever heard about them was some person had done their shopping, got to the checkout, unwrapped everything at the checkout, and just left all the packaging at the checkout. And the checkout lady said, but what about this? And she said, I didn't buy that. I've taken what I've bought. This stuff is all yours. You could do with it what you wish. And I just wish they'd learn that it's not really that necessary to give us all that garbage, which just goes into a landfill because it's not biodegradable. Whereas most of your garden, I think, is, with the exception of paving stones, maybe.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. But I mean, fortunately for me, I don't have to buy any of that. I don't have to ever go in a supermarket. I don't go. So I don't get that. But I have also done that. And I think it's a very, very good thing to do. I mean, you really do raise attention when you're standing there, you're holding up the whole queue while you unpack everything. And then everyone is grumpy, but it focuses attention. So it's a very good thing to do that every now and again. And I haven't done it for a few years. So, but I don't really go in supermarkets. So it would be a bit pathetic for me. And if I do go, then I take a little weighing bag for onions or something, you know, if I need that. But so we're very fortunate. We have a lot of markets. We have our organic shop. I just don't have to buy things triple wrapped. I really don't. But
should
it does
there then be more
to see my guests, what my guests bring. Then I'm a bit surprised, you know, like, gosh, okay. Yeah,
that's what's happening outside your gate. But then should there be more weed warriors? And I mean WA, not WO. Or in fact, they can be both, because you need to worry about the planet that we're living on, because we need to live on it. And it needs to be here for just a tad longer, you know. And warriors in that go out, make those statements, eat the weeds, talk to people about eating weeds, because everybody, you know, what did they say? A weed is just a flower that we don't understand. Because weeds are beautiful, and weeds will outlive your non-indigenous plants by years. It's like cockroaches. We were trying to kill them off, but they've been around for millennia and will be long after we're gone. If we want to fight everything and everybody, Nikki, this is the weirdest thing. I don't understand us as human beings. As you say, there is an abundance of everything, yet we want to buy prepackaged from a country that we've never visited because it comes from Argentina or from wherever.
No, well, it makes no sense to me. But you know, and I think there are a lot of worries. I don't think you look, you know, I mean, I am slightly the weird old lady in Howick, but I think it's definitely a trend is growing. And I think also a lot of Indigenous people know a lot and eat as a matter of course a lot
Yeah.
of these plants. But it's kind of this middle class thing that it's all getting a bit cool and trendy. And there are lots of restaurants around now. And so I found on my weed walks, because I do these weed walks,
Mm.
um, people were, then they'd get home and they'd be so confused. They'd be like, oh, I'm not sure. And they'd be sending me photos and people, and they just didn't feel brave. And I, of course, am terribly brave. I will eat anything now. I'll just give it a bash.
Yeah.
But most people are going to be cautious. And for a few years, people were complaining, please do a book, please do a book, please do a book. And I just said, no, there are enough books in the world. Leave the trees in peace. We don't need more books. But eventually last year, I capitulated. I just realized actually it's a bit mean to explode their brains with this knowledge and
Yeah.
then send them away with no backup.
Mm.
So then I did do a book. I put it together, and it. I mean, I'm telling you this because we're wondering if there are other warriors out there. But I launched it on the summer solstice. It was sold out by the end of May. There were just a few left that I sold since May. I had about 6 or 8, and I've sold to very specific people those last few.
Mm.
And that's it. And so if a book can sell out so fast, there's got to be a movement. There's got to be something happening. And now I've just finished my pocket guide. So this was a big book called Wild About Weeds, which had lots of recipes in it as well. So I think Caroline took one home, didn't she? And so it gives you ideas about how to use the plants that you find. But now I've just actually done a tiny little pocket guide about this big that you actually can take in your backpack and your pockets. So when you're walking, you can find things because you're not going. I've got Wild About Weeds. Shall I show you? It's a big
Please.
book. Look, I don't know,
Yeah,
can
there
you
we go.
see?
Yeah, I can.
Work here. So it's got lots of, it's got all the recipes and
delicious
lots of
pictures.
ideas.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got information, but it's got lots of ideas on how to use it. So I can't see what I'm showing you here, but I hope it's something attractive.
Fine.
Yeah. What is that? A very brave pesto. Very, very brave pesto made of gallant soldier leaves. So now this is, you see, you can't carry this around, clearly. No. So I've made a little one. And so I think that is going to be very successful, actually.
Well, that will be wonderful. Nikki, we're slowly running out of time. Well, in fact, not slowly, quickly running out of time, would you believe? So let's give people who are watching this some contact details. How do they get hold of you? How do they find out about your plant abundance, about your weed walks, all those sort of things? What's the easiest way to contact you?
Yeah, well, social media. I think social media is the easiest way. I am Plant Abundance. Plant Abundance on Instagram and Facebook. That's the easiest. I mean, maybe when you finish the podcast, you put contact details up at the end of it. I don't know, David. That's fine. People can phone me or email me, Nikki at Plant Abundance Nikki with 2 Ks. I mean, there's lots of ways finding me. I think nowadays it's magic. If you want to find somebody, you actually can.
Put in Plant Abundance on Facebook and you'll find Nikki Brighton. Nikki, it was wonderful chatting to you. We had an awesome time at your property when we were there, and the meal was delicious. We still speak about it. And Miles and taking a bite of kumquat that he wasn't expecting. Hera still laughs about that. Thank you so very much for being a guest on In Conversation with Nikki Brighton from Howick. Her Airbnb is called Braemar, and her business is called Plant Abundance. Once again, thanks so much, Nikki. I'm David. She's Nikki. You're a viewer. I hope you enjoyed this.